Anak ko isa from sa Said Ali Sulaiman to please lead us in prayer. So, standing for the national anthem and the Bangsamoro hymn.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang mag-ibig, dalas ng sinakanan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng mag-ibig, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit ang bangaw, ay hinatang tulad, awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iingin, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pang ay di magdidinig. Luman ang araw ng walang pansin ka, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang inigaya ng pagkay mga amin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo. Simula noon hanggang ngayon, isa ang naging layon. Magkaisa at magpuklod, kalitingan ay marugtong. Mayo tayo mula sa hamon ng nakaraan, niyamos ang panganib na umanlang. Pinangako sa puso at ay ating nang nakamtan. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, magpalaing Bangsamoro.
Secretary General is directed to call the roll.
I guess.
Roll call. Walang mic. Ito. Walang microphone sa second. Di maalis lang. Session suspended. Yes. Kaya na. Next time, dapat meron siya lagi. Okay na tayo.
Hello, mic test.
Ano nangyari?
Hello, mic test. Test mic. Test mic test. Test mic. Test mic. Wala, nag-light pero wala. Okay. Hello, mic test. Dapat siguro makahayam na rin ng expert nito.
Ganyan, sir? Yan, ganyan. Hello, that's my 1, 2, 3. Hello, Mike. That's my. That's my 1, 2, 3. Hello, Mike. That's 1, 2, 3. That's. Okay na. Session resume. The director, the secretary general is directed to the roll call of the honorable members of the BTA Parliament. Al-Akhir, 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 Admin, Alamiya Laisa, Alaibel Mosbel, Ali Ibrahim, Lana Ali Ali ang batuan Laita, ang Yapil Susana, ang taong Hamadet, Parnago Merdan, Asnawi Dan, Babaw Aling Taha, Balingong Pagkakaya, Basmana Tarhatan, Kanday Bayan, Piramalan Hasil, Gunamahal Siya Ilay, Ibrahim Ahmed, Ismail Suhardi, Estilo Mataru, Gayak Abdullah, Gera Edward, Haji Abdullah Ali, Hasil Abdullah, Hasan Habib, Ekbal Ahmed, Ismail Rasul, Jajuri Raisa, Jahila Muslim, Jigiri Al-Bakir, Kahalan Martin, Karen Faisal, Ling John Anthony, Long Benjamin, Long Mustafa, Lorena Jose, Magapara Abdullah, Magasalong Marjani, Magatanong Amrosi, Maglani Tarhada, Malik Hamid, Mantawel Bailon, Mastura Ishaq, Matalan Jabara Polo Mikael, Mayali Amilbahar, Mendoza Croyley, Mitimbang Michael, Mitimbang Tawakal, Miswari Abdul Karim, Miswari Norreda, Mitno Grasol Jr., Munoz Hussein, Oranong Suwaid, Pakasan Obayda, Pak Abdul Wahab, Pangandaman Nabila Margarita, Pagkasio Randolph, Piang Ramon Sr., Ramos Jamila, Salingab Said, Salik Ali, Sanki Ali, Sema Omar Yasser, Sema Romeo, Sheikh Said, Silongan Aida, Sinurindin Kadir Jr., Sulaiman Ali, Tago Kaisalim, Tan Nadim, Usman Al-Swar, Basir, Uwel Siti Fahan, Yaqub Muhammad.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mr. Speaker, we 51 members of the Parliament physically responded to the call. We therefore certify, Mr. Speaker, the presence of quorum. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. The Majority Leader. Floor Leader. Walang sound ng microphone ng floor leader. Parang yan ang sakit of the day.
Kami mga bulungan. Session suspended for another 2 minutes. Try mga live. Session is your
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My courtesies and respects to the Honorable Speaker, Attorney Pangilinan Balintong, the Presiding Officer, Deputy Speaker, Attorney Nabil Tan, Deputy Speakers, floor leaders, members of the Parliament, and guests in the gallery. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to all. Mr. Speaker, may we recognize in the gallery visitors from the Cotabato State University with their head by Johan Lumenda. Facilitators is Naira Malagonoy, Warex Makasin, Maylin Kotongan, Zahir Ali, S. Naira Alon, Vince Quijano, and Muhammad Alagasi, Mr. Speaker, and the students of Cotabato State University. You are all recognized. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for coming over and observing the session.
Mr. Speaker, I would also like to announce to members of the Parliament that the Office of the Secretary General has designed an interpellation request form, a copy of which has been distributed to members of the Parliament. This is form number 2.4, Mr. Speaker. We hope to be able to utilize this interpellation request form to facilitate and expedite proceedings in the plenary, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to amend to this order of business to include proposed resolution number 442 entitled Resolution Calling for the End of Hostilities against the civilian population of Palestine and allowing for the same proposed resolution number 440 entitled Resolution the acts of violence committed by Israel and against the people of Palestine and by Hamas militant group against the citizens of Israel. Two proposed resolutions for inclusion into this agenda, Mr. Speaker. I so move.
There's a motion to amend the business to include the proposed resolutions as mentioned. Is there any second? There any objection? Chair rules none, so we hereby approve. All the business should be accordingly amended.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that we dispense with the reading of Journal number 18, dated August 16 and 17, 2023, Mr. Speaker.
There's a motion to dispense with the reading of Journal number 18. And duly seconded, is there any objection?
I move to approve Journal number 18, subject to style, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to approve Journal number 18, subject to style. Duly seconded. Is there any objection? Chair stands, so is hereby approved.
Mr. Speaker, on reference of business for today's order of business, bills on first reading, we have 5. May we request the Secretariat to please read the title, the number, the title, and the authors sequentially, Mr. Speaker.
5 bills on first reading. The Secretary General is directed to read all the 5 bills on first reading.
BTA Parliament Bill number 246 entitled An Act Converting the District Hospital in the Municipality of Parang, Province of Maguindanao, to Provincial Hospital. To be as the Provincial Hospital and appropriated funds, therefore. Authors of the Parliament provide a council to have the Ismail Batalyon Studio, Abdullah Hasan Bandala, and Marjan Makasalo. BTA Parliament number 237 entitled Al-Akhir to the Municipality of Bangsamoro in the province of Maguindanao, providing funds and for other purposes. Authors, members of the Parliament, Rabi, Tawakal Mutindang, Basir and Muhammad K. Antao. BTA Parliament number 240 entitled Al-Akhir related to distribution and or use of single-use plastics products in Bangsamoro Hotel District. Authors, members of Parliament, Abu Bahar Mahmoud and Rasul Jr. Co-authors of the Parliament, Liza Laguna, Baitan Katinan, Mr. Suhata Military and Rasul Ismail. BTA Parliament Bill number 249 entitled Unlawful the products and services provided by veterinary practices in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region Bound and providing funds therefore. Authors, members of the Parliament, Hasan Milagadan, Khalid Jr., Khalid Hajj Abdullah. Co-authors, members of Parliament, Ahmed Bahar, Hamid Mahmoud, John Anthony, Rasul Jr., Nabil Tan, Suharto Ismail, Muhammad K. Antao, Ben Mustafa Lemon, Ali Tahadadan, Tawakal Mutindang, Najib Abu, Suhaib Rahman, Basir Utu, Nabila Margarita Pangdan, Talhata Maglan, and Faisal Karol. BTA Parliament Bill number 250 titled Establishing the Bangsamoro Disability Affairs Office, providing for its mandate, powers and functions, appropriating funds therefore for other purposes. Authors, members of the Parliament, colleagues in the Junior, and all Parliament. Co-authors, members of the Parliament, Masbera Rabi, Suhab Tandulitin, Abdulaziz Susana Luatin, Muhammad K. Antao, Dan Asnawi, Ali Mutahababaw, Bay Maliha Kandao, Hasim Ibrahim, Al-Bakir Jikiri, Ben Martin Gahalan, Ben Mustafa Loon, Tarhata Maglan, Roy Mendoza, Michael Timbang, Tawakal Timbang, Hussein Yunus, Abdul Wahab Pak, and Raymond Piang Silver.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are now ready to move to resolutions.
These are private members. And there are forms to those who would wish to associate themselves with these resolutions. And bills.
Bills. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That is correct. May we remind members of the Parliament to please signify if you wish to be co-authors by submitting the forms provided to you.
Thank you, Madam.
We start with proposed resolution number 408. Mr. Speaker, may we request the Secretariat to please read the title, the author, and the co-authors.
408, the Secretary General is directed to read proposed resolution 408.
Proposed resolution number 408 entitled Resolution requesting the government of the to provide a future translation of the Bangsamoro Autonomy Act number 35, otherwise known as the Bangsamoro Electoral Code. Author Member of Parliament Susana Luatin. Co-authors, members of the Parliament Basir Uto, Ali Tahababaw, Michael Timbang, and Erby Ali.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer proposed resolution number 408 to the Committee on Rules.
Resolution 408 to the Committee on Rules. The second, now it's called right on the it's not
Resolution number 417, may we request the Secretariat to please read the title, the authors, and the co-authors.
the Secretariat is directed to read resolution, including the title and the authors and of co-authors.
Proposed resolution number 407 titled Resolution urging the Ministry of Health to utilize telemedicine to increase the accessibility of health services and adopt a guideline on the use of telemedicine in the Bangsamoro region in Muslim around. Authors of the Parliament Hasan Ibrahim and Khalid Jr. Co-authors members of Parliament Malik Yaman Rasul Jr. Magtan Suhardan Ismail Muhammad Kildan Tayo Don Mustafa Loon Al Tahababaw Tawakal Timbang Suhaib Eranon Basir Nabila Paglalita Tarhata Maglan and Faisal Karun.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer proposed resolution number 417 to the Committee on Health.
There's a motion to resolution 417 to the Committee on Health. Second. So currently we are in the question.
Mr. Speaker, next proposed resolution is number 424. May we request the Secretariat to please read the title, the author, and the co-authors.
Secretariat is directed to read the proposed resolution 424, including the title and the authors.
Proposed resolution number 424 entitled Resolution urging the Office of the Chief Minister, OCM, through the Bangsamoro Information Office, BLO, to spearhead the printing and distribution of the printed codes. Author member of the Parliament Abanta and Tatuan. Co-authors members of the Parliament Liza Alamira, Amidah Suhardan Benito, Don Mustafa Loon, Rasul Ismail, Tawakal Jafar Apil Karel Matalang, Michael Timbang, Sahab, Khalid Hajab, and Basir Uti.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we treat resolution number 44 as a simple resolution.
There's a motion to propose resolution as a simple motion. Duly seconded. Is there any objection? Stand, so Mr. Roberto.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the author, MP by Intana, but want to say a few words about the proposed resolution.
The lady from Maguindanao is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Floor Leader, colleagues. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. I have prepared a speech here, but I know that the resolution is quite simple. We all know that as of date, out of the 7 priority codes which we were tasked to do as an interim government of the Bangsamoro, 5 out of 7 have already been enacted into law.
Kota na.
However, Mr. Speaker, I think so far I only saw the Bangsamoro Administrative Code, the printed copy of the Bangsamoro Administrative Code coming from the Office of the Secretary General. The rest of the 4 priority codes, which are Bangsamoro Civil Service Code, Bangsamoro Education Code, Bangsamoro Electoral Code, and recently Bangsamoro Local Governance Code are yet to be printed, Mr. Speaker. But I know that while the Office of the Secretary General is willing and able to print all these documents, but I know that more than serving the Parliament itself, we have other constituents like the ministries and offices, the local government units, and other stakeholders. So we believe that the Office of the Chief Minister through the Bangsamoro Information Office should take the lead in the reproduction and distribution of all these priority codes into the upcoming 2 other codes, which are the Revenue Code and the Indigenous Peoples Code. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I hope that our colleagues will support this resolution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Madam. May interpellation ba? Open the period.
Mr.
Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I'm scouting, Mr. Speaker, if there is any MP, I move to open the period of interpellation.
Pwede ba akong magtanong lang clarification?
Yes, you are the speaker, precisely.
I'm the rules. Thank you, Madam. Gusto ko yung resolution ito. Ito ba, ano ba plano natin dito sa resolution once approved? Ikakabit natin sa budget hearing para mapondohan. Kasi baka sabihin sa atin walang pondo. So pwede ba yung gagawin natin?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know that this entails a budget. And I also know that under the Office of the Chief Minister, we have contingent fund, Mr. Speaker. So if we want to readily implement this resolution, when we finally approve this, Mr. Speaker, we can readily implement it using that contingent fund under the Office of the Chief Minister, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, we can wait for next year and include it in the budget. But, Mr. Speaker, the sooner the better, because we need to really disseminate this priority codes, Mr. Speaker.
That's correct. So, ang nag-isip po ng ating sponsor is sa Chief Minister's Contingency Fund. Hindi sa BTA budget, Parliament budget. Pag-ipuman siya, Committee on Accounts. Yun yung tanong ko, wala na talaga ibang challenge. Salamat po. There. There.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize MP Attorney Arnado. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just have
Then Sam is recognized. Marian Arnado.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just have a brief interpellation. I would like to know if within the BTA Parliament structure, do we have a specific office that is responsible for the publication and reproduction of our laws?
I know that the Office of the Secretary General has started already the printing of the administrative code, and under his office there could be some divisions or units that could do this for the Parliament. But this resolution is not intended for the Parliament. This is intended for the other constituents other than the parliaments, which are the ministries and offices, local government and other stakeholders, Mr. Speaker. Yes, so Mr. Speaker, if we have already an existing printing and publication within the Parliament, would it not be more strategic and sustainable if we fund that particular office to be able to I'm talking about the next year now is when we proceed with funding. Wouldn't it be more sustainable and strategic if we fund that particular office within the Parliament so that they can carry out this particular task, which is very important. I agree that we need to do this, but it should be lodged within our Parliament, within the Parliament itself. Would the good sponsor agree to that proposal? Yes, Mr. Speaker, for the consumption of the Parliament,
Yes.
and the staff of the Parliament, yes, we can include it in our proposal. But for the general public, it should be the Bangsamoro Information Office that should take the lead for the reproduction and distribution, Mr. Speaker, because it involves the executive and other stakeholders, Mr. Speaker.
So, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I just want to just a final question. So for this particular resolution, while we are going to fund the Parliament printing and publication, this will only be for purposes of our own offices and immediate constituents, but it will be the bond itself through the OCM that will fund the larger publication.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, because we have an information office which is under the office of the Chief Minister, the Bangsamoro Information Office. Which I think is the right institution or office that should deal with this, Mr. Speaker.
For the information of everyone, I was informed now that the BTA Parliament has reproduced all the codes, 250 that are now booked by now. But the BC are approved. So I think that corresponds to the answer of the sponsor that the use of the Parliament members we have. So that's the information. Meron po ang Parliament na reproduced except yung PLGC.
So just to clarify that, I think we are also considering that the deliberation of the Committee on Accounts is ongoing. It might be very helpful if the good sponsor can already pitch that this idea to the ongoing deliberation so that we can, as an institution, come up with our own budget in addition to whatever effort and initiative that the Office of the Chief Minister will undertake for this year and even in the 2024 planning. So that would be all, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize Deputy Floor Leader Attorney Jose Lorena.
My respect, Attorney Lorena is recognized.
Ano pa?
Wala bang mic?
I have some very few questions.
Gladly, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sorry for my ignorance. May I know if the Information Office is an attached agency of the Office of the Chief Minister, or it is an independent office?
Mr. Speaker, I know, I don't know if the status of the Bangsamoro Information Office has changed, but what I know is they are under the Office of the Chief Minister, and they don't have yet fiscal autonomy. Correct me if I'm wrong, the president is here. Listen to us, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Madam Sponsor. To say that, how much budget is given to our Public Information Office by the Office of the Chief Minister?
I have yet to see again the budget, but I know that they have substantial funds for their operation for this year. But this one is over and above what is intended for this year. But what we know is under the Office of the Chief Minister, there is a contingent fund which can be readily available upon the approval of the Chief Minister. So, in both groups, and we recommend to the Chief Minister, chances are this will be implemented, Mr. Speaker.
So, sir, it will be because the available funds when it's funded for the people can be served within the Office of the Chief Minister.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
You have some view of how much perhaps can be allocated for this. Perhaps we can include that in a resolution.
Yes, initially, Mr. Speaker, I'm thinking of printing at least 10,000 copies per code. That will be right now 10,000 times 5 because we have 5. So that will be 50,000 or more. And if we multiply it into 100 to 200 pesos or 300 up to 500, that will be the cost, Mr. Speaker.
So, my last question, if the contingent fund could not be made available, no other source, but finally the Office of the Chief Minister that can be used for immediate purpose of the printing.
I know that after the Office of the Chief Minister could allocate some resources under his authority. So, there could be a possible source under the Office of the Chief Minister, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Sponsor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd just like to be correct. I want to be associated with this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, gentleman from Civil, Lord Lorena.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, may we recognize MP Ali Muntahababang.
Gentleman from Lanao and Palawan ba? Sa Madam Mr. Speaker, President also, thank you very much for recognizing me. But actually, this is not, I would like to, if the author, the proponent of this resolution will not be, I just want to propose some, kasi ito medyo alangan yung title eh. If I may read, urging the Office of the Chief Minister, OCM, through the Bangsamoro Information Office, to spearhead the printing and distribution of the priority codes. Although it was enumerated in the whereas clauses, but I would like to propose, Mr. Speaker, that to add just 2 words in the title of the resolution. If my proposal, Mr. Speaker, is to add the printing and distribution of the priority codes enacted by the BTA Parliament. Yes, that sentence, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Kasi medyo alam ko ito. Distribute that someone had passed this code. But what I want to emphasize here, Mr. Speaker, is to include in the title that this codes was really actually enacted by the BTA Parliament. Thank you. And maybe time when stand up again in the shot. At least, may request of the bago. Well, I have understood that Mr. Speaker was, I don't know whether in the next meetings I will around. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is an interpretation to be member of the Parliament every other just to interpret, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the proponent allow for some clarificatory questions?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is the proponent, Mr. Speaker, aware that during the RLA, the Regional Legislative Assembly, that a particular office at that time printed the codes and other acts that were passed by the RLA? Is the proponent, Mr. Speaker, aware that at that time of the RLA, was there an office responsible for the printing of the different laws passed by the RLA?
Mr. Speaker, frankly speaking, I saw some MMA acts that were distributed from amongst the stakeholders of the defunct ARMM, like the Revenue Code, RESA law, local government, local government code, yeah, MMA Act 25, the administrative code, but not all of the codes or the laws passed by the defunct ARMM were distributed to the constituents, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, for 4 minutes.
15 minutes na.
Let's go for a short break for 15 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, 1 minute suspension.
1 minute.
Suspension.
Real 1 minute suspension.
Mr. Speaker, before we went on our break, we were in the period of interpretation on proposed resolution number 424, Mr. Speaker. There is a discussion that we proceed first to the next proposed resolutions while we reach an agreement as to how to go about and pursue proposed resolution 424, Mr. Speaker.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Next is proposed resolution number 424. May we request that this be referred to proposed resolution number 433, 434, 435, and 439 as they speak of the same subject matter, Mr. Speaker.
Ano resolution? 432? And 431.
I'm sorry.
Floor leader.
Nawawala ang aking
Nawawala ang floor leader natin.
Mr. Speaker, I stand to be corrected. We start with resolution 431, Mr. Speaker. We request the Secretary to please read the title and the author.
The Secretariat is directed to read the title and the author.
Proposed resolution number 139 titled Resolution that the Parliament in conjunction with the Ministry of Transportation and Communications to to the civil and position of affairs of public utility workers operating in the and the rest of the region. Author in the Parliament Al-Akhir Basman.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer proposed resolution number 41 to the Committee on Transportation and Communications.
There is a motion to resolution and John Secando is objection to sign so to approved.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, is proposed resolution number 432 as earlier manifested. May we request that please be read together with proposed resolution numbers 433, 434, 435, and 439, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to the following proposed resolution 435 and
439.
436, 437, wala ko nakitang 439.
439.
439 number 11. Sa ano ko? Sa ano ko? Sa ano ba? Bago? Sa hawak ko, iba eh. 441 sa akin eh.
439.
Ayan na. Ito yung amended. Ah.
439.
Ito. 439. Yung number 11 mo kanina. Wala ko 439. Okay, 439. Iba kasi hawak ko, 441. Okay. So, the Secretariat is directed to read the proposed resolutions as mentioned and the authors.
Proposed resolution titled Resolution congratulating Mr. Herban Tawi-tawi September October 2023
Clarification lang. 432 ba yan o 433 na tayo? Ang parehong subject matters.
Yes, sir. 432, 433.
Pareho sila. And then,
Yes, sir. 42, 43, 44, 45, 49.
kala ko, sige. Proceed. Thank you.
Proposed resolution number 433 titled Resolution congratulating Mr. Herban Tawi-tawi for ranking first in the October 2023 September certified public accountant license and examinations CPA, Professional Education Commission Person. Author of the Department of Baida Pakasan and Paisaling Tago. Proposed resolution number 452 entitled Resolution expressing profound congratulations and commendations to Mr. Herman Tawi-tawi for his exceptional achievement in ranking first in the September to October 2020 Certified Public Accountant Licensure Examination CPA and to all Bangsamoro passers for their exemplary contribution in the pride and honor to the Bangsamoro. Authors, members of the Parliament, Jamila Ramos, and Al-Akhir. Co-authors, members of the Parliament, Al-Akhir, Dr. Kahalan, Al-Mutahabada of Villages, Tanglagir, Basita Das, Said Sheikh, Susana Netin, Muhammad Kiri and Tao, Abdul Wahab Pat, and Tarhata Maglamit. Proposed resolution number 434 entitled Resolution commending and congratulating Tawi-tawi for the top notcher in the October 2023 Certified Public Accountant Licensure Examination and all Bangsamoro passers. Authors, members of the Parliament, Cabinet Secretary, and House of Representatives. Co-authors, members of the Parliament of the Legislative Rasul Ismail, Al-Akhir, Chiguri, Faisal Karen, Tarhata Madila, Margarita Kamadanan, Siti Tahan, and Basir Uto. Proposed resolution number 435 entitled a resolution congratulating and Tawi-tawi for the top notcher in the September 2023 licensure examination for certified public accountants. Authors, members of the Parliament, Madyan Pakasalong, Shah Wilay Habimama Alban, Miriam Arnado, Suharta Ismail, Obaida Pakasan, and Aida Siliman. Co-authors, members of the Parliament, Ali Sulaiman, Said Sheikh, Dr. Pintahalan, Susana Netin, Abdulaziz Salimuddin, and Tarhata Maglalit. Proposed resolution number 439 resolution licensure examination, as well as all other Bangsamoro certified public accountants. Author, member of the Parliament, Khalid Haji Abdullah.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consolidate all of the proposed resolution, Mr. Speaker. 432, 433, 434.
As a move to consolidate all the proposed resolutions as read by the Secretary. Duly seconded. Objection. There is none, so we say that
The consolidated resolutions as a simple resolution, Mr. Speaker.
there's a motion to read the following proposed resolutions which shall be consolidated as a simple resolution. You seconded. Is there an objection? There is none, so we say that.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize Member of the Parliament, Abdulaziz Amenodin, to read the principal sponsor's speech, MP Jamila Ramos.
Parliament, Amenodin. Please recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Welcome.
Babasahin ko lang po ang mensahe ng ating kasamang MP Jamila Ramos. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Isang mainit po na pagbati sa ating mga kasamahan sa Parlamento, lalo na ang ating Chief Minister Ahmed Balawag Ibrahim Al-Haj, ang ating Deputy Chief Minister, Parliament Speaker Attorney Pangalihan Balindong Al-Haj, Deputy Speakers, Leader at Deputy Floor Leaders, at iba pang mga opisyalis ng BTA Parliament ang ating mga kapwa may akda ng proposed resolution 433. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Mr. Speaker, kamakailan po, noong tayo ay nag-ahit ng resolution para sa ating Bangsamoro Council na si Ms. Rayhana Bukampong na naging pangalawa sa May 2022 Certified Public Accountant Licensure Examination at ngayon po ay lubos akong nagagalak at ngayon tayo nag-ahit ng resolution upang natin ang ating pagdating at pagtatuloy kay Mr. Hibatan ang tawang-tawang para sa kanyang natatang tagumpay sa pagkamit ng pwesto ng sa nakaraang September, October 2022 Certified Public Accountant Licensure Examination. Si Mr. Tawang-tawang na isang maranang na nangunguna sa Barangay Poblacion, Municipality of Salvador, Lanao del Norte. At ipinagbigyan natin ang Mr. Abon in Tawan-Tawan at Mrs. Sauda in Tawan-Tawan. Ang pagpupursige niya sa kanyang napalitan ay isang malalim na influensya sa buhay ng ating kabataang Bangsamoro. Ipinakita niya na sa pamamagitan na masikhay na pagsusunikap at sipag sa pag-aaral, maaari natin makamtan ang mataas na tagumpay at magdala ng karangalan sa ating rehiyon Bangsamoro. Siya ay isang inspiration hindi lamang para sa mga kabataan, kundi pati rin sa ating mga kababayan Bangsamoro. Ang ating Parliament ay naging na ang mga natatang tagumpay pati mga kapwa Bangsamoro na nagdadaan sa ating ay dapat ipagawang. Ito ay sa ating kamandang ng Bangsamoro
Professionals na nag-aambag sa prestigyo at karangalan ng ating rehiyon. Kaya naman sa kahangahangang tagumpay na ito, hindi po maaaring hindi ko muling banggitin ang ating panawagan sa agarang pagpasa ng mga panukalang batas na magbibigay ng formal na pagkilala at suporta sa ating mga Bangsamoro at Cebu. Tayo ay naniniwala na ito ay magbibigay inspirasyon sa ating mga kababayan Bangsamoro, lalong-lalo na sa ating mga kabataan at kababayan na magtutulak sa kanila na magsulikap para sa kanilang mga pangarap dahil ang ating Bangsamoro government ay nariyan upang magbigay ng suporta sa kanilang mga tagumpay at patuloy na paglago pati na rin sa pandaigdigan antas. Kaya po Mr. Speaker, nais ko pong hikayatin ang ating parlamento na ipasa itong resolution na ito at taos-pusong bigyan pugay ang tagumpay ni Mr. Iban Talib Tawan-Tawan at sa iba pang Bangsamoro na pumasa sa
naturang pagsusunod na away ang magsilbing simbolo ito sa pagkilala at suporta ng Bangsamoro Transition Authority sa kanila at isa pang kabataan sa kanilang pagbibigay karangalan sa ating Bangsamoro. Maraming salamat po. Ang isa ito ay galing sa ating kapatid Inpa Yemela Simban Ramos. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Mr. Speaker, may we now recognize MP Marjani Makasalong, one of the principal authors of the proposed resolution.
MP Marjani Makasalong is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وبه نستعين وعليه نتوكل أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Courtesy to our Chief Minister Ahod Balawag Ibrahim, to our Parliament Speaker Attorney Pangalian Balindong, to the Presiding Officer Attorney Nabil Tan, to our fellow members of the Parliament, to our staff and guests, once again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'll begin by quoting a Quranic verse from Surah Al-Inshirah, verse 5 to 6. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْعُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Undoubtedly, with every hardship there is ease. With every hardship there is ease. This is a constant reminder to never give up on our goals and trust in Allah's plan. With every hardship, there is ease, and with perseverance, success is within reach. Today, with great pride and honor, I express my heartfelt congratulations and admiration for Hiban Talib Tawan-Tawan, the top-notcher of the September 2023 licensure examination for certified public accountants. Hiban Talib Tawan-Tawan is a proud Bangsamoro who graduated magna cum laude with a Bachelor of Science in Accountancy from the University of San Jose, Recolitos. He has demonstrated diligence, determination, and exceptional academic achievement consistently, which exemplifies the values of excellence and hard work that we aim to cultivate within our community. That nurturing the culture of excellence among our youth is important in sustaining progress and development within our region. Recognizing the achievement of a Bangsamoro youth such as Hiban will serve as an inspiration and motivation to the entire Bangsamoro community to continuously strive and aim for excellence. As we all know, the licensure examination for certified public accountants is one of the most challenging board examinations in the Philippines, and passing it requires countless hours of hard work and dedication. Out of 8,734 examinees, only 2,714 successfully passed. To pass the exam is already an achievement, but this Hiban Tawan-Tawan obtained the highest score alongside Alain Biduya Colamar of the University of the Philippines, UP Tacloban, with a remarkable 91.17%. It fills me with immense pride to see young people like Hiban pursuing their dreams with such fervor and dedication. Achieving such a distinction is no easy feat. It takes a tremendous amount of effort, determination, and hard work to excel in such a highly competitive field. We are honored to have the opportunity to acknowledge Hiban for his remarkable achievement. We firmly believe that individuals such as Hiban deserves recognition and commendation as they continue to blaze trails and set new benchmarks in their field. In light of this great achievement, we offer this resolution to congratulate Hiban Talib Tawan-Tawan. We hope that this recognition serves as a beacon of hope and motivation so that we can collectively strive for excellence and create a brighter future for the Bangsamoro people. Therefore, I urge the support of this resolution to congratulate and commend Hiban Talib Tawan-Tawan for his extraordinary achievement in the September 2023 licensure examination for certified public accountants. Let this be a momentous occasion to celebrate the success and excellence of our fellow Bangsamoro. Pagpalain ka, Hiban Tawan-Tawan, pagpalain ka Batang Bangsamoro, pagpalain Bangsamoro. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Mr. Speaker, for purposes of interpellation, may we adopt the proposed resolution number 435 as the main document considering the presence of the principal author, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to
The proposed resolution 435 as the main document among the
resolution.
5.
5 as the main resolution
Yes, Mr. Speaker. For purposes of interpellation, Mr.
for
Speaker.
purposes of deliberation.
I
Duly seconded, is there any objection to the stand, so we see that.
May we recognize member of the parliament by Inta number 1? And may we request member of the parliament Marjani Makasadong to please take the floor, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Rabi from Maguindana is recognized by the
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, floor leader. Would the gentleman, proponent gentleman, for some clarificatory questions?
My pleasure, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Foremost, I would like to say that I join all those authors of the 5 resolutions in congratulating and commending Mr. Henan Tawan-Tawan for tapping the CPALE or CPA examination. Mr. Speaker, ito po ay isang karangalan bilang isang Bangsamoro sa ating lahat. Gusto kong malaman, Mr. Speaker, kung si Mr. Tawan-Tawan ba ang kauna-unahang Moro na nakamit ang karangalan na bilang top notcher sa CPA examination?
Mr. Speaker, kung usapan ay at least top 10, mayroon hong mga ibang Bangsamoro na pumasok sa top 10. Kasama na ho doon yung kanina, kasama sa speech ni MP Abdulaziz na mayroon ding bago na top 2 sa CPA. Pero yung as a Maranao, this is the first. But as a Bangsamoro also, for the top 1, we cannot recall and we were not able to find any. So we assume that he is also the first to be the top 1 as a Bangsamoro in this CPA. Otherwise, if someone can give us can inform us of that. But wala po kami nahanap na nag-top 1 din sa CPA.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Kung kaya't malamang sa malamang, siya yung first na anong tawag natin sa kanila? Yung generation nila?
Millennials?
Millennials ba yung Gen Z na? Gen Z na. So, malamang sa malamang siya yung Gen Z na Bangsamoro na nitong CPA examination at nakita ng sponsor kanina na pangatlo yung CPA examinations sa mga pinakamahirap na exams. Ang una yung medical examination, pangalawa yung bar examination at pangatlo yung CPA examination. Mr. Speaker, ang pangalawa ko pang katanungan ay alam natin isa siyang Maranao. Si Mr. Henan Tawan-Tawan ay isang Maranao. Maaari ba natin malaman kung saan specific area lumaki, pinag-aral, at na-associate si Mr. Tawan-Tawan? Baka meron doon sa lugar na yun. May mga pagkain doon na pang-pangkat, sir. Maaari ba natin malaman kung saan?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I am just kasama ko sa sagot ko kanina yung nag-top 2 Rayhana Di Campo at saka meron on 2023. Meron din sa 2022 na top 5 yung Nor Hafiza Abinal, which is from the municipality of Marantau.
baka pwede rin po natin ma-explore kung ano ho yung mga paninda sa tabi nila, baka pwede rin ho tayo kumain. Pero dito kay Ivan, he is from Salvador, Lanao del Norte. But he most of his time he grew up. He studied in Cebu.
Cebu.
Yes. So baka doon ho natin mahanap yung mga ganong pagkain. Pero he is Salvador in Lanao del Norte is or the Maranao in Salvador in Lanao del Norte are also from the municipalities of Madalam and Madamba in Lanao del Sur. So yes. Yung nila, forest nila ay magkano, lupa.
So maraming sakurab doon, no?
I guess so.
Sige, but just kidding aside, maybe that's the secret. We don't know, no? But who knows, no? Baka it will produce more if only to emphasize kung ano yung mga secrets, no? Hindi, nandiyan yung MOST to enhance the product, ano? Okay, sinasabi natin na siya yung kauna-una, in fact, hindi lang sa generation nila as Gen Z, and perhaps sa generation ng Bangsamoro, na nagkaroon, nakapag-produce tayo ng isang top-notch na CPA. Gusto natin malaman dahil ang dami ng pag-propose, no? Maraming authors. And this parliament, being the Bangsamoro Parliament, would we settle for just the piece of resolution, integrating the 5 resolutions into one and send it to the top-notcher na honor natin ngayon? May naisip ba yung ating mga authors na baka sakali ay maipaabot doon sa kay Mr. Tawan-Tawan at saka pamilya niya, o baka gusto ninyong imbitahan na mag-apply sa Bangsamoro, lalo na sa Ministry of Finance, dahil kailangan natin yung pag-agaling sa Bangsamoro. Meron pa tayong naisip, no? Opportunities para kay Mr. Tawan-Tawan para maging, kumbaga, mauna niyang may consider yung Bangsamoro dahil gusto natin makuha yung talents, no? So, may naisip ba yung mga proposal na pwede natin i-offer kay Mr. Tawan-Tawan?
Since marami ho yung resolution, may mga very informal and initial discussion na perhaps magiging, kasi wala nang budget na naka-specify for the incentive. Pero may mga very informal na usapan na baka nga pwedeng small amount can be given to yung mga nire-recognize natin. In fact, maybe this is a different topic, but it has been asked many times, yung mga, let's say, yung mga binibigyan na, yung mga nanalong gold medal at saka yung iba pa, ano po ba yung pwedeng maging incentive ng Bangsamoro government? And I think if we can really, now budget season, if we can really push for that, maybe pwedeng hanapan ng paraan. Kasi in the case of the reading Quran competition, I think it was the resolution, sino ba yun? Si Prof. Edi Ali yung, si Prof. Edi Ali ata yung nag-ano, under the OCM yung budget na bibigyan ng certain amount yung mga nanalo. So bakit mo ganun yung maging approach? Pero mas maganda na siguro kung mayroon talagang specific budget na magiging incentive sa mga nagtatap either in the academy or yung sa larangan ng sports. Just want to mention also that, for example, in the top 5 in the 2022, yung si Ms. Abinal, we have at least one, and also in the case of MP Maysara Dandaman Latif during her time, Many times namin ho na-engage si Ms. Abidal, pero yun baka MFDM ho yung pwedeng mag-hire sa kanilang mga CPA. Thank you very much.
Po, Mr. Speaker, tanong ko na lang po doon, lalo-lalo na sa ating mga colleagues na Maranos, no? Kung meron ba kayong mag-spearhead ng some sort of effort that would truly recognize yung achievement ng bata na kayo yung magpasinunod para kung ano man yung pag-usapan ninyo, open it to the body, baka sakaling mapagtulungan. Would you like to do that, Mr. Speaker?
Yeah, this representation is inshallah willing, but I will also have to talk and discuss with other proponents of the same resolution. MP Tago, sana nandito, and MP Pakasam, I hope lahat sila CP, and then MP Ramos and the rest, maybe we can talk and inshallah, baka mayroon inshallah.
Thank you.
From the body. So,
Mr. Speaker.
thank you then, Mr. Speaker.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I now move to close the period of interpellation and
So,
thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to dispense with the different amendments, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move to approve the consolidated resolutions, Mr. Speaker, subject to style.
there's a motion to approve the consolidated resolutions of the styles due to September.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to manifest that all members of the Parliament be included as co-authors, Mr. Speaker.
There's a manifestation by Secretary, please include the names of those present physically.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now we move to proposed resolution number 436. May we request the Secretariat to please read the title, the author, and the co-authors.
We now move to resolution 436. Congratulations, commendation. The Secretary is directed to read the resolution 436, including the title and the authors.
Proposed resolution number 426 entitled Resolution Congratulating the Bar Volleyball Team for the recently concluded National State Colleges and Universities Athletic Association NSCAA Games 2023 and by in order of Bangsamoro people. Author, member of the Parliament, co-authors, members of the Parliament, Alice Reyna, the Martin Kahala, Susana, and Sayin.
Mr. Speaker, I move to treat proposed resolution number 436 as a simple resolution.
There's a motion to treat proposed resolution 436 as simple resolution. There any second? Duly seconded. Is there any objection?
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the main author, principal author, MP Jamila Ramos, may we recognize MP Susana Anayatin to read the statement of the author.
MP Susana Anayatin is recognized to deliver the sponsorship speech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bismillah. Rahmanirrahim. Malugod ko po binabati ang ating mga kasamahan sa parlamento, ang ating Chief Minister Ahod Balawag Ibrahim, ang ating Deputy Chief Minister, Parliament Speaker Attorney Pangalian Balindong, Deputy Speakers, Floor Leaders, at Deputy Floor Leaders, at iba pang mga opisyalis at kasamahan sa BTA Parliament, mga panauhin at mga taga-subaybay ng ating live sessions. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Nais ko pong iparating ang ating pagbati at pagbibigay pugay sa ating Bar Men's Volleyball Team mula sa Tawi-Tawi Regional Agricultural College sa kanilang matagumpay na pagganap at pagkamit ng gintong medalya sa katatapos lamang ng National State Colleges and Universities Athletic Association Games 2023 sa New Clark City Athletic Stadium, Kapas Tarlac noong October. Ang kamanghamanghang tagumpay na ito ay natamo sa pamamagitan ng dedikasyon at pagpupursige ng ating 15 talentadong atletang Bangsamoro na sina Hamil I. Juni, Abdul Rahul S. Janani, Elsad M. Ahmad, Mukhtar T. Peña, Cesar Adamil, Al-Hadi C. Jali, Al-Khadkar J. Sasapan, Midsran Bangsa, Bernard T. Casera, Ali Faisal Gampong, Al-Hasbil I. Haji, Asmar I. Napi, Brian K. Sahirin, Ismael M. Kasim at Dixon Saplani. Sila ay buong pusong itinaguyod ni Ginoong Abraham J. Tandy bilang kanilang head coach, kasama ang kanilang assistant coach at 4 pang coaching staff. Ang kanilang 3 sunod-sunod na panalo at ang di matatawarang pagkamit nila ng gintong medalya ay patunay sa kanilang kahangahangang dedikasyon at pagsisikap sa kanilang intensibong pagsasanay, mga sakripisyo at matatag na paniniwala sa kanilang sarili at sa isa't isa ay naabot nila ang tuktok ng tagumpay na nagbigay ng matayog na karangalan sa ating lahat. Tunay po na ito ay hindi lamang isang tagumpay para sa kanila, kundi isang tagumpay at inspirasyon sa buong Bangsamoro. Sa pagpasa natin ng proposed resolution na ito, layunin po nating mabigyan ng malakas na suporta ang pagkilala sa mga kahangahangang kabataang Bangsamoro at sa tagumpay na kanilang nakakamit na siyang nagsisilbing halimbawa sa ating mga kabataan upang sila ay mas lalong magsumikap na maabot ang kanilang pinakamataas na potensyal nang sa gayon ay maipakita natin na ang Bangsamoro ay may kakayahan na makipagsabayan sa iba't ibang larangan ng sports. Hinihikayat ko rin po ang ating parlamento na isabatas ang mga panukalang mag-institutionalize sa formal na pagkilala at pagbibigay insentibo sa mga Bangsamoro achievers gaya ng Bar Men's Volleyball Team. Naninindigan po tayo na ito ay makapagbibigay ng karagdagang motibasyon sa ating mga kapwa Bangsamoro, lalo na sa mga kabataan na magpursige para sa kanilang ambisyon at mga pangarap dahil ang ating Bangsamoro government ay handang tumulong sa kanilang mga tagumpay at patuloy na pag-unlad. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker. Muli, ipinapaabot po ang aking taus-pusong pagpupugay sa ating Bar Men's Volleyball Team mula sa Tawi-Tawi Regional Agricultural College. Let us unite in applauding these outstanding athletes and may their success inspire us to achieve even greater heights in the future. Inshallah. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Signed, Jamila Disimban Ramos, Member of Parliament.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I now move to dispense with the period of interpretation and debate as well as the period of amendment, Mr. Speaker.
There's no motion to dispense with the period of interpolation and debate and the amendments due to cover the objection. stands on the same level.
I move that resolution number 46, subject to style, Mr. Speaker.
There is now a motion to approve the resolution 46 subject to style. Is there any second? Duly seconded. Is there any objection? Chair stands on the same level.
And Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to also manifest that one who is present today included as co-authors. Mr. Speaker, if that is okay.
Manifestation is duly noted. Secretary is directed to include the names of all those present today as co-authors.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Next is proposed resolution number 437. May we request the Secretary General to please read the title, the author, and the co-authors.
37. The Secretary is directed to propose resolution 437. The title and the authors.
Resolution number 37, titled Resolution earnestly requesting the Chief Public Attorney, Dr. Percival Rueda Acosta, DSD, to restore the supervision over the Public Attorney's offices in Magdana, Basilan, Sulit, Tawi-tawi to the Public Attorney's Office, Bangsamoro, Attorney Region, Muslim Mindanao, now Regional Office. Although the siya wala ng palimutaan. Co-workers, members of the Parliament, Mayor Malmado, Florida Council, Madyan Magasado, Suhartes, Mayon, Mataris Student, Aida Sitang, Mahal Masjid Al-Adri, and Bawlan Matayo.
Mr. Speaker, I hope that this be referred to the Committee on Bangsamoro Justice System.
There is a motion to some resolutions and justice.
Legislative proposed resolution number 441. May we request the Secretary to please read the title, the authors, and the co-authors.
Secretary is directed to read proposed resolution 441 to include the title and the authors.
Proposed resolution number 441, titled Resolution respectfully urging the government of the Lebanon to work with government agencies and provide the required funding for a two-term extension of the lease agreements for Marine and permanent displaced persons, i.e. temporary shelters. Authors, members of Parliament, Jamila Ramos, Khalid Haji Abdullah, Anna Tarhana Basman, Pangalian Balibon, at Sulaiman Rasoli Pujita, siya wala na lumamahal ay salita ko ay tahabaran magpapaglatatangdaman nagyan makasalan at dalajik sa mga ang rose sa makatanong ng Michael Bitibang. Co-authors, members of Parliament, Basipag Das, and Tarhata Maglan.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this be referred to the Special Committee on Marawi.
Special Committee on Malawi. Duly seconded. Is there any objection?
Next, Mr. Speaker, is proposed resolution number 442. May I move that this be read together with proposed resolution number 443, given that they treat of the same subject matter, Mr. Speaker?
What is this resolution?
442 and 443, the ones that we included as part of the agenda of the order of business, Mr. Speaker.
There is a motion to read. The Secretary will please read proposed resolution 442 and proposed resolution 443. It's traits of the same subject matter.
Proposed resolution number 442, titled Resolution called for the end of hostilities against the civilian population of Palestine and allowing for the safe return to their homelands and the rehabilitation thereof. Authors, members of Parliament, Anna Tarhata Basman, Shawila Lumamahal, Raisa Jadid, Suharta Ismail, Tawakal Bujita, Rabi Bangsamoro, Abdulrahman Pak, Ibrahim Matarin Stino, o dahil ang nakasam ang dahil ng tawon.
443.
Resolution number 443 titled Resolution equal condemning the continued acts of violence committed by Israel against the people of Palestine and by Hamas militant group against the citizens of Israel. Authors, Member of Parliament Omar Nasser Sena.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consolidate proposed resolution numbers 442 and 443, Mr. Speaker.
There's a motion to consolidate the proposed resolutions.
Second, you is a member, is there any objection? There is none, so Mr. Bellaku.
The consolidated resolutions as simple resolution, Mr. Speaker.
There's a motion to treat the consolidated resolutions as simple resolution. Is there a second? You are second, is there any objection? There is none, so Mr. Bellaku.
Mr. Speaker, may we first recognize the principal author of the first resolution 442, Member of the Parliament, Attorney Ana Tarhata Basman.
Kala ko, you recognize yourself. The lady from Lanao del Sur would recognize Ma'am Tarhata Ana Basman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Rabi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues in this august chamber, one of the most quoted ahadith or sayings of our holy prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, which I think should be the guiding post of those like us who are in a position to do so, goes, whosoever of you sees an evil, let him change it with his hand. And if he's not able to do so, then with his tongue. And if he's not able to do so, then with his heart. And this is the weakest of faith. Mr. Speaker, colleagues, I think you will agree with me that now is not the time to be silent. As a people who knows all too well what it means for others to recognize and echo your call for the right to exist, we, the Bangsamoro people, should raise our voices on behalf of those struggling for survival, the people of Gaza, the people of Palestine. Alam natin na ang hidwaan na ito ay hindi nagsimula lamang ito mga nakaraang araw at linggo. Pero hindi na natin pupuntahan yun. Alam natin na ang gerang ito ay hindi dapat intindihin base lamang sa mga interes at layunin ng mga personalidad at grupo na sangkot ngayon. Pero hindi na natin pupuntahan yun. Mr. Speaker, mga kapwa ko miyembro ng Parlamento, walang duda dapat sa ating mga isipan na kapag ang pinag-uusapan ay ilang daang libo ng populasyon na kailangang lumikas, ilang daang libo mga individual, kasama na ang mga bata, kababaihan at mga nakakatanda, ang pinipila ng supply ng tubig, kuryente at pagkain, kapag ilang daang libong tao ang walang seguridad sa kanilang mga buhay. Responsibilidad natin bilang mga Bangsamoro, bilang mga tao, na gamitin ang ating mga boses at gawin ang ating makakaya para tutulan ang di katanggap-tanggap na sitwasyon na ito. Mr. Speaker, we file this measure as a show of support and as a strong call for the cessation of hostilities that endanger hundreds of thousands of lives and threaten any hope of resolving this decades-long conflict in the Middle Eastern region. We call on relevant political leaders to refrain from introducing policies that are contrary to international humanitarian law and amount to war crimes such as the targeting of civilians, places of worship, and medical and humanitarian facilities and personnel. We call on world leaders to prioritize a just resolution of the conflict that gives, first and foremost, the right of statehood to the Palestinians and establishing security in the areas of Palestine, Israel, and other adjoining countries. We are left with no choice, Mr. Speaker. Our common humanity compels us to issue this most urgent appeal. We are Palestine and Palestine is us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's time. May we recognize Deputy Speaker Omar Yasser Sema.
The active lawyer, young lawyer, young Parot. And welcome to Speaker Omar Sema and Cotabato City, Mr. Speaker. And Cotabato City, especially Cotabato City. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Mr. Speaker, colleagues, yes, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. I have submitted this subject resolution for your support and approval, Mr. Speaker. Palestine is once again on fire. Thousands of innocent lives have been lost already and thousands also injured. And a whole population deprived of the basic necessities, their properties destroyed, and importantly, add to the fact that the whole population of Palestine is deprived of liberty in their own homeland. In Gaza alone, Mr. Speaker, the people have already been ordered to evacuate to the south. And this will result to another systematic displacement and illegal annexation of northern Gaza. Since the people will be going to the south, this will exacerbate the current situation between the people of Palestine and Israel. Mr. Speaker, this resolution calls to condemn the continued use of full military might of Israel against the people of Palestine in Gaza. It also condemns Hamas for the October 7, 2023 attacks inside Israel. Mr. Speaker, what is happening in Palestine speaks for itself. Innocent lives are collateral to the conflict between Israel and Hamas. While media reports tell Hamas to attack Israel, the response of Israel was disproportionate. So disproportionate that it's now a condemnable humanitarian crisis. Thus, this resolution, Mr. Speaker, with a solemn prayer for the Parliament's support and approval. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Sir Deputy Speaker Marcel.
Mr. Speaker, for purposes of this resolution, may we confer with the two authors which will be used as the main document.
Consolidate na lang.
Mr. Speaker, if it is consolidated, Mr. Speaker, it will be subject to style, Mr. Speaker, and no document will prevail over the other, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the two subject matters are not mutually exclusive. It can be stated in the title, Mr. Speaker, condemning the ongoing violence and calling for cessation of hostilities are not mutually exclusive, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, while I agree, in order to facilitate interpretation and debate, Mr. Speaker, the ones that we need to flash on the screen for amendment, Mr. Speaker, that is just the intent of asking which document, because we will also stand on the floor, Mr. Speaker.
If the floor leader can indulge us, Mr. Speaker, of answering any question that may be held under proposed resolution, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, in that case, Mr. Speaker, it depends on to whom he or she will address to whose resolution, the questions will be addressed. If that is the understanding of the body.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, I move to open the period of interpellation and debate.
There is now a motion to open the period of interpellation and debate. There will be a second. Duly seconded. Is there any objection? Chair is none, say we say by approved.
Mr. Speaker, we start with the member of the Parliament, Abdullah Hashim.
Am I recognized, Mr. Speaker? The gentleman from Maguindanao, Abdullah Hashim, is recognized.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah. Wa man tabi'ahu ila yawmin al-qiyamah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum assalam.
Mr. Speaker, before my interpellation, I would like to show my solidarity to the Palestinians, to the victim, all of the victims of this conflict. And I would like to share in their grief and the hardships that is happening right now in Gaza Strip. I would also like to express my condolences to even the Israeli civilians who have died under the Hamas militants. Mr. Speaker, I would not hold myself to condemn that act of indiscriminately killing civilians, even in the Israeli side. This is not from Islam, Mr. Speaker, and we advise those who are fighting for their right to self-determination to avoid doing such kind of acts, Mr. Speaker. It is not upon Islam. So I will also equally condemn the harsh, indiscriminate killings of civilians from both sides. And of course, including those from the Palestinian side who has been suffering for a very long time, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would also like to take the moment to recite a verse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is poignant for all of us to be reminded. Mr. Speaker, Allah said in the Quran, because of what the hands of God have earned, no oppression and evil deeds.
So that He, Allah, may make them taste a part of that which they have done, in order that they may return by repenting to Allah and begging His pardon. So I urge all of the Muslims of this world to return to Allah and avoid committing sins. And this will be, inshallah, the help of Allah will come to us if we return to Allah and avoid doing sins. Because all this evil and oppression has come to us due to what our hands have earned. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my first question is, this is a bit, I don't know how the proponent can answer this, but can they give a brief background of the situation on the current situation? Anyone from the proponents?
Who would volunteer?
Take the bullet this time, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, based on the whereas clauses in the proposed resolution you have filed, this most recent spate of violence was ignited by a surprise attack on October 7. And this led to a series of events that now brings us to where we are now, where there are public proclamations from official authorities on a declaration of war, on cutting off of essential necessities such as water, food, electricity, even connectivity is very limited in the Gaza Strip, and where there was as well an official pronouncement and order for the evacuation of an approximately 1.1 million citizens or residents north of the Wadi Gaza of the Gaza Strip for a 24-hour period. But Mr. Speaker, as also mentioned in this proposed resolution, there is awareness amongst us that this is not an incident that should be taken in isolation, meaning the timeline for this conflict should not start on October 7. But perhaps the October 7 of this, but when the said surprise attack occurred, but along the many decades of the struggle or the conflict on the statehood of Palestine, on the statehood of Israel, and the socio-political dynamics in the Middle Eastern region.
Therefore, Mr. Speaker, the current situation in Palestine, there is a political or perhaps even a religious aspect to what is happening.
Mr. Speaker, I believe if we are to be ardent
learners or students of this political history of Palestine, and the state of Israel, we would not be concluding that this is a religious nor a mere battle or disagreement in views between the Muslims and the non-Muslims. Before, if we go back in history, there was peaceful coexistence among the three major religious groups in the area that is now the subject of so much conflict, so much war. So we should avoid classifying this conflict as a religious one. It is political. It is a matter of assertion of the right to self-determination by both parties. And Mr. Speaker, by this resolution, what we try to say is even beyond the complex political or socio-political reality of the peoples of Israel and Palestine or Philistine, we should consider this as an urgent humanitarian situation where who is correct or who is right or who has the right in terms of law, politics, or international considerations should be set aside, but we should focus on the reality that there are hundreds and thousands of people who are being threatened in their personal security, in their basic necessities, and in their actual existence. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will proceed to my second question. Perhaps forgive me for not answering, but yes, for the purposes of this interpellation, would the proponent condemn the killing of innocent Israeli civilians?
Of course.
Mr. Speaker, the condemnation is for all innocent lives that are
Victims.
brought into the middle of this fray, brought upon the decisions of political players that are outside of their control. Mr. Speaker, collective punishment, targeting of civilian populations are war crimes. So the condemnation, I believe, should not be a box that we put ourselves in. It should be, we should awaken in ourselves our common humanity in looking at this situation, Mr. Speaker. I refuse, Mr. Speaker, to be limited by that narrative to care for one is to the exclusion of caring for the other. Mr. Speaker, we are talking about here human lives. We are talking about innocent civilians on both sides, Mr. Speaker. And this situation is brought about by decisions of very few. Very few, they may be, they are very powerful, and that's what brought us to this situation, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, follow-up question to that. Does the proponent believe that there is a disparity between the condemnation of the killing of the Israeli civilians and what is happening now with the Palestinian civilians?
Mr. Speaker, if we go and therefore check the reporting of those who are able to have that voice heard by more, definitely one side is favored over the other. That is the situation we find ourselves in. And therefore, as people who is also part of the minority, we relate, we commiserate with that situation where our voices are hushed. Our voices are, if not silenced, but diminished. So, Mr. Speaker, that is why we should, in all opportunities, as a member of an institution, as members of an institution, which have more voice than the others, be able to put to the fore, maisama po sa main narrative yung kwento ng mga yung hindi nakararami at hindi pinapakinggan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Lastly, before
the Speaker or Marcel wants to say something.
sorry, thank you.
Yeah, I really like the last question you heard that is there disparity? I think there is a clear disparity here in how the situation in the Palestine is being depicted, whether or not in formal or informal media, whether in the social media or in the tri-media. But nonetheless, we are here as part of a larger community of Muslims. We are providing this platform we have right now to bring to the attention of those who might be ignorant of what is happening in Palestine, of its root causes. I really thank the interpellator for the framing of the questions that you have made prior to this question, because at least we have provided a clarity. At least an informed information as to what are the root causes of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Certainly, probably there are more people right now who do not know what Nakba means. What Nakba means. Probably they don't know about the partition plan or the two-state solution or the Camp David agreements. They don't know that. Or probably they know that thousands of Palestinians are languishing in Israeli jails without legitimate cause for detention or incarceration, or maybe just on suspicion of being members of a militant organization. So I believe our colleague Anna, probably me, I can say me, we are driven by the fact that we're using this platform to bring to the attention of those who are, for lack of better term, who are ignorant, probably in their judgment of what is happening in Palestine. Probably to bring a balance to the perspective and to the treatment of to the bringing out of information as to what's happening in Palestine. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I think
Last
proportionate. Hindi lang disparity.
Speaker. Last thing, for example, if the world were to listen to this resolution, what would ideally be? What should they do?
I think the world, I think, Mr. Speaker, we should expect more from ourselves as members of the human race. This is more than propaganda. This is more than choosing a side. This is feeling for a fellow human being who only wish to exist, who only wish to live their lives in this world with a lot of struggles, with a lot of challenges. And therefore, we should be able to come to our common denominator on this issue and view this incident as such. We are aware that voices as bold or as soft as ours will not change decisions of bigger political players. However, Mr. Speaker, and I think there are many considerations for the decisions that they make. But Mr. Speaker, when you talk about displacement, when you talk about fear of being killed by multiple airstrikes, when you talk about access to water, food, electricity, Mr. Speaker, I think that goes without saying. It's something that we all can rally against and say that it is not acceptable to make decisions that deprive human beings, fellow individual beings of such access.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to be associated with the consolidated resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Abdullah Hasun. Thank you, sir. Very good.
Mr. Speaker, may we now recognize Member of the Parliament Kadil Sinolinding to interpolate.
Query lang na floor leader. Marami pa bang mag-interpolate? Pwede ba yung interpolation na yun, i-quad na lang into suggested amendments kung meron silang balak magpa-amend? Hindi, we will go push through with Dr. Jojo. Pero yung mga susunod, kung gusto lang magpa-amend, katulad ko, may suggestion ako sa amendment para for the interest of time.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, but I believe that subject matter is something that members of the Parliament may want to make a stand on, take a stand on, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, that's just something off the cuff. Thank you very much. The Honorable SGA, gentleman from SGA and Maguindanao is recognized. Dr. Sinolinding.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good afternoon to all our fellow members of the Parliament. I would like to request the honorable please. Kahit na sila po sa inyong dalawa ang sasagot dito, may idiyan po sa clarificatory questions po.
Sabihin mo kaya ba, tinatanong mo, and then mamili na sino sa kanila ko yung sasagot.
Okay, this is for our proponent, Deputy Speaker Omar Sena. Mr. Speaker, how the population of the Gaza Strip as of this moment? Estimated.
I think in Gaza alone, I think there are about 2.4 million. 2.4 million, and I think 1.1 million have been ordered to evacuate from northern Gaza to southern Gaza.
Okay, so they're still in Gaza, the 2.4. They're just being relocated inside the Gaza Strip.
They are still in Gaza. However, yesterday coming out, thousands had been going towards the south.
Mr. Speaker, of the latest report of deaths, do we have the statistics of how many were children, women, and elderly? Do we have, more or less? In Gaza Strip alone,
more than 2,000 have already perished inside Gaza alone. More than any number that happened in recent history. This was probably the most catastrophic incident since 1948, where thousands of Palestinians have been killed by air raids.
Mr. Speaker, so we have seen images, buildings were bombed out, including the people inside in there. So we don't know exactly how many are being killed, wounded as of this moment. And the health system, including hospitals, is being threatened as already in the verge of collapse. Mr. Speaker, is it true?
Yeah, I think there are 5 hospitals in Gaza City, and all of those hospitals have been destroyed already.
Mr. Speaker, they have the power to stop. But as a voice, as one strong voice of unison, may be heard, including the international community. And for the record, Mr. Speaker, I am one of the people who calls for the cessation of hostilities and the resumption of humanitarian aid by providing humanitarian aid so that food and medical services as well as medical support can still enter and serve the people of Gaza. And for the record also, I am very much willing to help and serve the victims of war if by chance feasible. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the next to interpolate is Member of the Parliament, Don Mustafa Loong. Dito ka na.
MP Don Absolute is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from resolution 4.2, I would like to clarify on how this resolution will be given to specific authorities.
Mr. Speaker, basically this resolution was intended to be a message to the general public. There is no provision there that mentions any specific copy furnishing to any particular office.
So, Mr. Speaker, this resolution then like a press release, and we are deciding to just use that mechanism instead of formally transmitting the same to a particular office or entity.
Mr. Speaker, I believe this is just press release. This is a collective decision of the Parliament whether to approve this or amend or reject. So it will not be a press release, Mr. Speaker, definitely. We are not opposed to any specific mention of an office. But Mr. Speaker, if you look at the tenor of the resolution, it does not pertain to an action of one specific entity. It speaks of general call for cessation of hostilities. So, Mr. Speaker, I believe we have reports of several nations who are preparing or have repositioned some of the military arsenal around the premises or around the area. And I believe our call comes out to them as much as they go out to a specific nation or entity. Hence the absence, Mr. Speaker, of a call or information to us, one specific office.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Considering that we are consolidating resolution 442 and 443, and 443 mentioning the office of the Israel Embassy to the Philippines and the Palestine Embassy to the Philippines. So, in the consolidated resolution, which will be followed?
Mr. Speaker, I leave it to the desire of the Parliament what to do. Manifestation from the author of the PR number 442 of the non-exclusivity between the two resolutions. And I think I agree with that. And therefore, we may be able to cross the bridge and we get there, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, news agencies are stating that there are 30,000 Filipino workers in Israel and 167 Filipinos in Gaza. May I inquire from your proponent if there are the 67 Filipinos, are there people there who are Bangsamoro? And if so, are we not including the concern for the welfare as well?
Mr. Speaker, I'm in position to determine the presence of fellow Bangsamoros in Gaza, particularly. But we also know that Mr. Speaker, the call for concern is a call shared with the entire and therefore the specific view in this proposed resolution.
Mr. Speaker, in the third to the last paragraph, we mentioned of collective punishment. Can we inquire applies what we mean by the collective punishment?
Mr. Speaker, international the punishment of groups of people or the acts or acts of specific individuals or sector thereof. Mr. Speaker, in this, let's say, in this collective of 8 members, if one of us commits some transgression, that one should not, that transgression should not be justification for the punishment of this entire body. So yung collective punishment, if that is done, then that constitutes collective punishment. which is a welcome, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, and if I remember right, I think the President and Director General did mention calling on the parties to not use collective punishment. And I was hoping that a statement by some agency can be included in the resolution to support our resolution, Mr. Speaker.
So that, Mr. Speaker, but again, this stems from our desire as a parliament to make that call independent of the assessment or evaluation of other bodies or other individuals. Again, I think the desire of this resolution is for us to call from our own common humanity in making that rally for or call for the cessation of hostilities in the area.
Mr. Speaker, for Resolution 430, I would like to be clarified on the use of the word equally in the resolution. May be clarified on the word equally. I think, as stated by my fellow author, as to 442, that we will condemn all acts against civilians. I think that's the import there, that we're both condemning the catastrophic response of Israel to the surprise attack made by Hamas, and at the same time condemning Hamas itself on its attacks on civilians. Mr. Speaker, since your resolution stated a Palestine embassy to the Philippines, may I be clarified, is there an embassy of Palestine in the Philippines? Yes, Mr. Speaker, it's in Makati City. Can I be the embassy of the state of Palestine? Can I also be clarified, Mr. Speaker, because I'm a bit confused, is Palestine a country already? I think that is a good question for all of us to inform. Palestine is originally the state here. There is no even such thing as the state of Israel. But after Nakba, the people of Palestine were displaced from the diaspora for 75 years now, and paved the way for the creation of the so-called state of Israel. It is a country. It is a state. It is a state, Mr. Speaker. It is a permanent observer status in the United Nations, and it is a permanent member of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. I'm using this, Mr. Speaker, just to authorize us, because this is the cause of the conflict. The fact that Palestinians wants to be declared as a country, as an independent state, aside from being recognized by the United Nations. Yes, that is practically the aspiration of the people of Palestine to be considered again as a member of the community of nations, as a state and as a country. Of course, this all goes back to so many agreements that have been entered into by and between the Palestinian Liberation Organization and the Israelis. The latest of which is the two-state solution, where it was offered by the United States as a solution to the problem, where the state of Israel and the state of Palestine, the Palestinian state, can coexist with each other as two states. Yes, because the resolution, Mr. Speaker, states that the electricity has been cut by the state of Israel. So if Gaza is an occupied territory of Palestine. Okay, so in other words, it is part of Palestine, part of Palestine occupied by the Israeli forces. Okay.
Mr. Speaker, because Mr. Speaker, solution, I just like to be clarified on yes. So when you say
Yes, Mr. Speaker, the word chosen was intentional, whatever that means for the people of Palestine.
okay. And since this is calling for a resolution of the civilians and the resolution to this conflict, I express my support to the resolution, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Next, interpolator, Mr. Speaker, would be, okay, let's give the floor, Mr. Speaker, to MP Bong Parcasio muna.
MP Bong Parcasio is recognized.
Mga ilan pa? Mga 10 pa? Yan.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a few questions on the matter because the cycle of violence in that land called Palestine has been ongoing since 5 decades. More than 5 decades, 50 years. My question is about the sponsor of the author of resolution number 543 and resolution 542. What is the root cause of the cycle of violence between the Israelites and the Palestinians? I would like to ask this. We all know that history tells us that there was really originally no state of Israel. However, in 1948, it was the decision of the Allied forces to provide a home for the Jews who have been victims of the Holocaust, as they say, and they saw the state of Palestine as the most suitable for them, the settlement of the Jews after World War II. And through the Balfour Declaration, they were brought to Palestine by boats. And in May 14, which is actually my birthday, May 14, 1948, Operation Takba. 1972 po. I said May 14. I said May 14, birthday, not a birth year, Mr. Speaker. So the Operation Takba began, and it began with at the first day alone, 770,000 Palestinians were displaced, and they were scattered to Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and just recently, right now, as a result of the 6-day war, they were the Palestinians were refugees in their own homeland. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I have nothing further to add to that.
In short, the violence in Palestine is caused by that act of colonizers to make a settlement and eventually a state of Israel. Dispossessing, oppressing, depriving, and let me use the words, grabbing the lands of the Palestinians. Now, I support those resolutions because it strikes against violence. It supports the restoration of peace and also suggesting that the Palestinians should be respected. Their peace in their homeland and their respective houses should be respected and should be restored. However, conflicts in that area has occurred and reoccurred, and there seems to be no end to that. May I just ask what would be the proponents' thought about what is the solution to the conflict in Palestine or Israel?
Yeah, you're asking us a question that it's really very difficult to answer. Probably, yes, I answered a long time. I know it's a difficult question, but I just want to ask a question. What could be the solution to end the violence in Palestine? It's been clear that the most acceptable and most dignified solution acceptable even to the leaders of the Palestinians is the two-state solution.
All right.
But unfortunately, while these solutions have been the subject of UN resolutions, the Security Council of the United Nations has been a failure in the execution of these UN resolutions, and that's why violence has been recurring in Palestine, especially in the last decade, because as we are informed by data right now in the media and in books, there are thousands of Palestinians languishing in Israeli detention centers. They have been detained there for dissent, resistance to occupation, and they have been deprived of respect and the respect for their dignity.
Mr. Speaker, I fully agree with the response, Mr. Speaker. And I would like to ask this question. Again, as I've said, I fully support these two resolutions. Please.
Mr. Speaker, as mentioned by our colleague, this crisis has escaped solution for so many decades. But so I will not bring to be more of an expert than the ones already trying to come up with a solution. But I go back, Mr. Speaker, to what I've been saying all this time, that we reach through our innermost humanity. And number one, moderate our greed. Moderate our greed. This has been a huge issue of competition or security concerns imagined earlier. Mr. Speaker, if we go back to the essence of what makes us human, then I think it will place for more options for those who are making the decisions. Mr. Speaker, one option over the other might be on one side versus the other, and already we are in a situation where we have an oppressed and we have an oppressor. So, Mr. Speaker, that's my own trajectory. When we finally elect leaders or choose leaders who are able to temper the propensity to dehumanize the other, to Mr. Speaker, we are in a better framework of mindset for coming up with more viable solutions that are already on the table.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I agree that we have to go to our inner selves and understand what we truly are as human persons, that we are all souls in each and every one of us. Allah has put his soul. And I have said that repeatedly in many occasions. My favorite ayat in the Quran, which states, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, فَإِذَا سَوَيْتُهُ وَنَفَخْتُهُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. Allah told the angels that when I have created human beings, I have put in them my soul. And that is very important in, finding solutions to conflicts. However, in the case of conflicts, especially if there is, as you have said, an oppressor oppressing the oppressed, then such as the case in Palestine, I fully agree with the suggestion, with the statement of the author of resolution number 433, that the Palestinians were dispossessed in their lands, and that in short, such they should be restored with their rights. Now, I'm stating this, Mr. Speaker, because I want to ask this body, when we condemn violence and we seek peace to reign in that land, are we not willing to take a position? Are we not willing to take a position? What should be our stand? The solution to the problem in Palestine. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Next to interpellate is Deputy Speaker Liza Alamian.
Mr. Speaker, Liza Alamian is recognized.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Understand that I choose my candidate to stand on the other side. And probably the better work. Mr. Speaker, many of my questions have already been asked. I think we are at the point now where now as we return as Bangsamoro. The last comment of our esteemed colleague and brother about our culture about making this. I think that's the first question that some of us ask, because we all have our own personal interests. Do we make a stand? We are appointed apprentices of the current president. Do we have that right? Is it strategic politically to make a stand? But of course, we have to make a stand, Mr. Speaker. And that is why I would like to be aligned with this resolution, specifically with resolution number 442, as amended later. Because if we're not going to stand, we are at a crossroad, at a point in the history of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, where we can actually call out an injustice that is being committed. Because if we do not call it out and we do not probably propose solutions, although we cannot bring in, as mentioned by MP Anna earlier, we cannot going to know what the solutions would be. We are here, we are located here in the Philippines, although there are similarities. There are some similarities in the situation of the Bangsamoro to the situation of the civilian population of the Palestinians from the MNLF time to the MNLF time. There are lessons to be learned there. So that was supposed to be my first question. Do we need to make a stand? I agree. I will answer that first. But yes, we have to make a stand. But I would like to listen to the proponents' opinion on the reason why we have to make a stand.
First and foremost, we are a people similarly situated. We were once similarly situated with as the Palestinians. And people have stood up for us. People have stood up for us from miles, from oceans, across different oceans. People have stood up for us. We remember the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. We remember the Palestinian Liberation Organization. We remember that both the PLO and the Moro National Liberation Front were both given observer status in the OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation. And it's just therefore that this generation of Moros who should know how to give back, to give back the same support that they have given to us. And secondly, the situation in Palestine requires for us to make a stand. And that stand is, of course, for the belief that everyone is entitled to their human rights. No? Their right to have a country, their right to have a home of their own, their right to have peaceful coexistence with others, the basic human rights, under the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights. People's rights are being violated. We can see live on TV, children dying. And I think to not make a stand in itself is a crime against the Palestinians.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I believe it is incumbent upon us. Number one, Mr. Speaker, in the face of injustice, if we become silent, we are complicit. It doesn't mean that we are neutral. It means we are helping the ones who are more able to conduct or operate injustice. And Mr. Speaker, as devotees of Islam, as Muslims, we are people of action. We are not people of turning the other cheek. Mr. Speaker, this is the least that we can do, to speak against it, to speak about it. Mr. Speaker, that is the lesser option over or under actually doing something about it. And Mr. Speaker, our situation, our position as members of the Parliament who have this platform grants us that privilege of being heard more than the others who are going to speak about this. So, Mr. Speaker, this is our least risky, if I may say so, option. Mr. Speaker, I understand the need to be strategic, the need to be cautious about our actions, being appointees, being representatives, not just of our people, but also as named, identified, and having taken oath before particular officials of this country. But Mr. Speaker, that is a risk I believe that we as a Bangsamoro people should be able and should be willing to take.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, in the two resolutions, under our resolution number 442, it's a resolution that calls for the cessation of hostilities, a de-escalation of the hostilities, And probably, although these words are not here, the opening of a humanitarian corridor so that the people may pass to safer areas. But the other resolution, which is resolution number 443, is a resolution which would appear that BTA as a parliament condemns the acts of both Israel and Hamas. Condemning the acts of Israel and at the same time also condemning the acts of Hamas militant group. Are we in a position to reach some kind of a judgment that indeed the acts of Hamas should be condemned?
I think it should be condemned because there are reports coming from authorities in Israel and from the media that civilians have been victims of that surprise operation, and therefore, by that alone, it should be condemned because we believe that while the Hamas may be pursuing the aspirations of the Palestinian people, such pursuit should have respect for international humanitarian law, and therefore they should never disregard the effects of their operations against civilians.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This question, whether an official from the Palestinian government condemns the act of Hamas, squarely places us as outsiders in the same position. Like we are being asked, you are Muslims, Bangsamoro Muslims, you sympathize with the cause of the Palestinians. Do you condemn the act of Hamas?
Of course.
The latest act of Hamas. Would that require an answer? And this official from the Palestinian government said that he does not agree with the premise of the question. Because that has been the situation for us in the Bangsamoro. Whenever there is a member of the population, whether it be from the Abu Sayyaf or any other group, even before, during the time of the MILF, just because we are Muslims, we are Bangsamoro minority, people around us would ask us, do you condemn the act of the terrorist group, previously the MILF? Do you condemn the act of the MILF rogue group that laid siege to several barangays in Zamboanga City? Do you condemn the act of Al-Akhir and Abu Sayyaf in laying siege over Malawi? Do you condemn the act of the MILF when we laid siege to Hello and caused the burning of Hello? We are placing that position, always placing that position to answer the question whether we condemn it. It is as if we always have to prove to everyone that we are good persons, and so any act of violence that goes against international humanitarian law or international human rights law, we should condemn so that we will be separated from the others. But, Mr. Speaker, that leads me to that position, that leads me to that point where that Palestinian official refused to answer the question on whether he condemns the act of Hamas, because he said he does not agree with the premise of that question.
because it's more complicated than that. And he went on to discuss the history of the entire conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis. So, Mr. Speaker, are we would it be strategic for us and helpful for the Palestinian civilians for us to condemn para lang hindi tayo kasali sa grupo ng mga Hamas who appears to have committed these acts also?
First of all, I would like to answer the question of the interpellator. I think it would be improper to compare Hamas and the Moro National Liberation Front and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. The Moro National Liberation Front and the MILF were attacking military targets, not civilians. Not civilians. And of course, in those offensives, there were displacements, but they were not direct attacks against civilians. In comparison to Hamas, the operation was even in a civilian target. So there is a huge disparity now, a clear differentiation of the approach of the Moro National Liberation Front and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. Secondly, the Moro National Liberation Front and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front.
With your indulgence, gentlemen, and will be the floor, so we just suspend for 3 minutes. So, slides are left, and you can now resume. I'm sorry.
Mr. Speaker, considering that Mr. Speaker, may I move again
So we will now suspend, adjourn the session until tomorrow at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock, 1:30. 1 o'clock. Session is adjourned.